Mr. President, one of the joys of being chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, the people I get to serve with. Over the years, I've served with numerous senators, including the father of one of the current senators. For a lawyer, it is an intellectually exhilarating committee to serve on. But again, because of some of the great people who serve there. The senator from Delaware is the newest member of the committee. It's funny to say the senator from Delaware is the newest member of the committee because the former senator from Delaware I served with for well over 30 years on that committee. Prior to the time he was chairman, prior to the time he was ranking member, prior to the time I was chairman, prior to the time he was ranking member. He's left the Senate to be involved in the Senate now only as presiding officer because he went on to become vice president of the United States. But his replacement, Senator Kaufman of Delaware, moved into that seat on the Senate Judiciary Committee as though he had served there for all those decades. In a way, he did, as a key person working for former Senator Biden. I've often joked that senators are merely constitutional impediments or constitutional necessities to the staff around here to do all the work. Now we have somebody who has both the expertise of having been one of the finest staff people I've ever served with, but now one of the best senators I served with, and a great addition to the Senate Judiciary Committee. So as not to embarrass him further, I will yield to the distinguished senator from Delaware.
From Delaware.
One of the people asked me what's it like to be a senator as opposed to being a chief of staff, and one of the great things is to get to work with a chairman like Chairman Leahy on the Judiciary Committee, someone that knows what he's about, someone that knows the Senate, former prosecutor. We are truly fortunate to have him as his chair, and also to have a truly great staff on the Senate Judiciary Committee led by Bruce Cohen. So it's a great pleasure for me, and a genuine pleasure. Pleasure's used a lot of times on this floor. Sometimes it isn't too pleasurable. This is a genuine pleasure to work with the chairman and with the staff and with the Judiciary Committee, but especially with the chairman. So I thank him, and I thank him for his kind remarks. And I really do agree with so much of what he has to say about David Ogden for Deputy Attorney General. I, along with him, are deeply disappointed that the nomination of David Ogden for Deputy Attorney General has been so needlessly delayed. This has real consequences for the administration of law in our country during a challenging time. Depriving the Department of Justice of senior leadership at this critical juncture is much more than unfortunate. As we saw from his confirmation in the hearings in the Judiciary Committee more than a month ago, David Ogden has excellent academic credentials and broad experience in law and government. He fully understands the special role of the Department of Justice and is deeply committed to the rule of law. And he has broad support from lawyers of all political and judicial philosophies. President Obama designated Mr. Ogden to be Deputy Attorney General on January 5th, which seems like an eternity ago, over 2 months ago. We held his confirmation hearing in the Judiciary Committee over a month ago. And on February 26th, after thorough consideration, a bipartisan majority of the committee, 14-5, voted to report his nomination. The ranking member, the Senate Minority Whip, and the senior, well-respected senior senator from South Carolina voted in favor of his nomination. Now, despite that bipartisan vote and broad support from law enforcement groups, children's advocates, civil rights organizations, former Democratic and Republican officials, his nomination has faced unwarranted delay. This delay is unfortunate itself, particularly when the nominee has impeccable credentials and broad support. However, just as important, this delay has come at a critical time for the Department of Justice. Without a Deputy Attorney General, the department is forced to deal with some of the most important issues facing this nation with one hand tied behind his back. The Deputy Attorney General holds the #2 position in the Department of Justice, and as we all know, is responsible for the day-to-day management of the department, including critical national security responsibilities. And I say it again, critical national security responsibilities. The Deputy Attorney General, for example, signs FISA applications. These are essential to ensuring that our intelligence services get the information they need to protect us from terrorism and other national security threats. The Deputy Attorney General will also play an important role in overseeing the Guantanamo Bay detainee review to make sure that we assess each of the remaining detainees and make sure they are safely and appropriately transferred. I know an issue that everyone in this body shares a concern about. One of the recommendations of the bipartisan 9/11 Commission was that after presidential transitions, nominations for national security appointments like Mr. Ogden's be accelerated. The delay we're seeing now, to put it mildly, is not helping those who are sworn to protect our country. The Deputy Attorney General manages a criminal division and the FBI, which help keep Americans safe not only from violent crime, but also from financial fraud. In the aftermath of the financial fraud meltdown that has thrown the American economy into serious recession, we must ensure that lawbreakers will be identified and prosecuted for financial fraud. Punishing complex financial crimes and deterring future fraud are vital in restoring confidence in our decimated financial markets. How can people be expected to go back in the market again when they don't know and cannot have confidence that the people that perpetrated these crimes are not still there and not in jail? This is important. And as we know, in dealing with crime, the sooner you deal with it after the crime happens, the better your chance of catching the people that are involved. Getting the Deputy Attorney General involved in this as soon as possible is essential for our financial well-being. The Deputy Attorney General also oversees efforts to fight waste and corruption in federal governments by means of the False Claim Acts. As we expend vast sums in 2 wars and work to stimulate the economic recovery, we must do everything we can to make sure that taxpayer dollars are well spent. Along the same lines, the Deputy Attorney General oversees the distribution of billions of dollars in economic recovery funds in support of critical state and local law enforcement initiatives. Everyone agrees that to fulfill the promise of economic recovery package, we need to get the funds out the door quickly. Again, depriving the Department of Justice of senior leadership at this critical time is bad policy. The American people need a Deputy Attorney General in place now to lead all of these critical efforts. The problems and threats confronting the country are too serious to delay. We know David Ogden is extraordinarily well qualified. We know the Judiciary Committee fully vetted his background, experience, and judgment and reported out his nomination with a bipartisan majority. We know the Attorney General needs his second-in-command, as well as other members of his leadership team in place and working as soon as possible. We know further delay on this crucial nomination is excusable. I hope on this nomination and going forward, we do better. Mr. President, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum and that the time be charged equally.